from the New York Post. Abercrombie deletes ad after tweet storm over normalizing obesity. I saw this image. And, I want to start out by saying, I'm not trying to be mean to this woman. I don't know who she is. But I want to say one thing. Will the New York Post not let us actually get the image in there? She needs help. She needs serious help. And I'm not saying to be mean. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This woman, her life is in danger.
Yeah.
Her pants are being used as a hammock for her stomach. I am not trying to be mean or disrespectful. This is no way intended to do that. It's to make a point. I'm sure she's a nice person, but she is suffering from morbid or moribund obesity. It's a large principal cause of cancer, precursor to cancer. Your heart will fail. You will die. People are making this into a job. They're rewarding it. And when I see this, it's just one component of what I see as, you call it cultural decay in the United States. I'm going to call it outright societal collapse. If we normalize morbid and moribund obesity, in how many generations do we have? 1, 2, when our population is collapsing and unable to sustain itself. So Abercrombie, I would say, in a case for optimism, deleted the ad. But there was that famous story in London, it was in the UK, I think it was, where they had this ad as Beachbody Ready. Do you guys remember this? And it was a thin woman in a bikini. Yeah. And then all of these fat activists got angry and said it was fat phobic or shaming. So they replaced it with like a similar ad of morbidly and moribundly obese women. I'm just saying, when I see this stuff, you talk about the cult, fat phobia and all these other phobias. It is leading in one direction, and it is societal collapse. And I'm not talking about, oh no, if two men get married, society will collapse. No, I'm totally fine with gay marriage. That's fine. Actually, I think marriage is a good institution. And I'm sure the conservatives have their arguments against it or whatever, but I don't think that will destroy society. What I think will destroy society is when outside of that, you tolerate the targeting of children. Outside of that, you actually tell people that they can be moribundly obese and it is marketable and we will pay you to do it. And it's like when your society starts telling you that, it's falling down.
But that's like real compassion, right? Like you're looking at this woman and saying, you're not living a good quality of life. I want something better for you. And I think it ties into this bigger idea in our society of like tolerance, right? If you don't tolerate everything, then you're bigoted or you're hateful. But it's like, no, I actually have my ideas that are rooted in something. And, British journalist Douglas Murray talks about this. He calls this a year zero. That today, we think that we are smarter and we know more than everybody that came before us. And none of your ideas are rooted in anything. And that's dangerous because if it's not rooted in anything, then the people that come after you can also uproot whatever you've just built. And so it's not compassionate to glorify this, right? It's not compassionate to let a 10-year-old decide what gender they are, because we have things that we look to our past and say, well, this isn't right. Well, we need to fix this. But we're being sold on this fake idea of tolerance, this fake idea of compassion. And it's leading our society to complete decay.
It's evil. It is 100%. It is evil, in my opinion, to go to someone. Like, I make the joke when we got these cookies. They're Oreo cookies with birthday cake filling, dipped in fudge, covered in sprinkles, with a sugar printed image that says "Step on Snack and Find Out" on top. And the joke is, when I hand it to people, I say it's evil to do this. It is because these things are extremely bad for you. But the reality is, like, in saying that, it's a warning, basically. Like, I always tell people, like, dude, one cookie is 130 calories and like 18 to 20 carbs. So,
and addictive.
And it's addictive. But here you have people who, they go to these people and they tell them, eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's all to yourself. It's fine. You shouldn't be ashamed of who you are. That's like giving someone poison and trying to addict them to something, and then, like, you're not helping them. Like, I'm sure opiates feel good. We aren't happy that doctors are overprescribing them. You are not helping someone by getting them addicted to these drugs. I feel the same way about so much in the society. The reality is, hard work is a better gift. This is the challenge. If your message is work hard, work out, and you will feel better than ever, but people are like, in the short term, it sucks, it hurts. Then the other people come by and say, here's a glazed donut with a double cheeseburger, a Luther burger, and it will taste good right now. What they're not telling you is that you will suffer for this curse. And they're telling you they're the good guys doing it. We want people to roll up their sleeves and work hard, and they will feel better. They will be happier. They will clear their minds. And that's the hard message. So telling people Work hard, pay back your loans if you took a loan out. Well, that's so mean. No. Free ride.
Nothing good comes easy, man. And, I think it's all tied together. The tolerance, the convenience, right? All these people that they have Amazon, the big flat screen TV, smoking pot, eating their glazed donuts. Like, are they happy? They were told that they would be happy, but they're not. They're sad, they're empty, they're fat. And so, we have to pick out things in our society that we need to be intolerant of, right? Not in the sense that we should hate people. Like, I don't hate her, like you just said, but we need to decide what is right, what makes us happy, what is actually good. But it's this scare tactic that if you oppose anything, then you're bigoted, then you're hateful, right? I'm not tolerant of murderers. I'm not tolerant of parents, Drew, that take their kids to drag shows. And we need to be. We need to draw the line somewhere. And they're erasing every line everywhere.
But it's this idea, so I was driving in the car and that song by Taylor Swift came on. What is it called? You Need to Calm Down.
Love T Swift.
So great.
T Swift, yeah, the song is like, it's a little bit about cancel culture, and the second verse is about homophobes and transphobes and all that stuff. And it's like, it's this idea that people only criticize a behavior because they hate a person is just wrong. But here's the funny thing. When I hear that and she's singing the song and she's like, you need to stop just talking about all the reasons you hate this person. And I'm like, the conversations we have here with people who are concerned about like drag shows for children, they're not saying that it's just because they hate someone. They're not looking at the person and being like, oh, I just hate them. They're saying, hey, what are you doing to those kids? It's about an action and towards kids. For the most part, I was at an event in the UK and there was a drag queen on stage or whatever. Wasn't going after kids. Nobody cared. I've been at Trump events where there have been transgender Trump supporters. Nobody cared. They don't hate them. They hate the actions when you target and do like a child and do something corrupt. In this instance, with Abercrombie and Fitch, it's just a long line and a big story about getting people to gorge themselves until they're in serious jeopardy. That is not compassion.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying, is these people hate you, right? Like if I'm sitting here telling you it's okay to be unhealthy, keep being unhealthy. See how that goes for you. You should be as unhealthy as physically possible. That's not a statement of care. That's a statement of hate. That's the real hate, right? If I come out and say, you know what? It's fine. Mutilate the genitals of your children. That is going to go so well for them. That is going to make them so happy in the future, even though they have no idea why they're doing what they're doing. Keep doing that. It's going to go so well in the future. It's a statement of hate. That means you hate somebody.
But
these
and
people
maybe
hate you.
Maybe they want there to be less people. But when I look at a lot of this, I look at a message that says, what is the end result of all of the things they're saying? From we're talking about the morbid obesity being normalized to the just the abortion at the point of birth. The end result of this, whether it's intentional or not, will be less people, pain and suffering and death, and then people being unable to reproduce, and then people not having kids. So I look at that and I'm like, I'm not saying anyone who's pushing for fat acceptance or whatever is trying to reduce population. I'm saying the end result will be, regardless of what you want, less people. Now, China's not doing this. In fact, they're doing the opposite. They're not letting these messages persist on TikTok in China, but in the US they are. So what's going to happen? The US is crumbling. China is also having their own economic problems, but in the social ways, they're rejecting it. They're doing these ads like to promote masculinity and stuff like that. Meanwhile, they're using their app in the US to push wokeness.
You're talking about what app exactly?
TikTok.
That's ByteDance, the Chinese company that owns that.
And spying on people.
You talk about compassion. I'm thinking about like raising a kid and a kid that like maybe the kid goes and steals something from the store and comes home. What's the compassionate thing to do? It's okay. Don't worry about it. Right. I love you anyway. I don't think that's compassion. It's that kid, you lose your privileges. You return that, you apologize, you cry about it, you feel horrible about it, you feel, you feel humiliated.
Guilty,
then you come home and you lose electricity in your bedroom now. We're shutting off the breaker. You're in your room. You cannot stay over your friend's house on the weekends. You have to be home at 5 p.m. every day for 3 months. Like that's maybe hardcore, but that will teach the kid, don't steal, do not destroy society. That I think is compassion. As horrible and as hard as it is to do that to a kid, like you're guiding these wild animals. Like what is it compassionate to shear the sheep? Yet we do it anyway. I don't know.
Actually, it is. The sheep like it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Well, I'll take
you hear them
this.
screaming when their legs are tied up. It's another question.
Well, there's some things we do to farm animals they don't like.
Yeah,
you know.
that's true.
Well,
Forced insemination, for
I'll make
instance.
like the religious
Okay.
the religious analogy or the Christian analogy of, you know, when God punishes you or when you sin. And Drew, I don't know about you, but like, you know, we have a set of rules, right? We have a set of ideologies that we are rooted in. And you may disagree with the ideology or with religion, but when we sin, we're told you have to atone for these sins. You have to confess. And don't you always feel great when you confess and you say, I did this wrong. Let me try to have some forgiveness. And that's like coming from God, right? And it's the same thing with kids, that you have somebody over you telling you this is right and this is wrong. And that's why I think maybe some of these people hate us, but I don't think everybody does. I think it really is rooted in a lack of ideas, right? They don't have roots in anything and it's running amok. I mean, we're seeing it in real time.
Well, because they've been convinced that liberalism, right? They've been convinced that liberalism means just all hands are off. You can't have a functioning society without any kind of rule of law, because then you run into stuff like this. If we're just void of rule of law in a society, then the sexualizing of kids is okay in a society like that.
Because you can.
Who the hell are you to say anything? You're a fascist. You telling me that I can't touch your kid? You're a fascist. That's where these people's minds are. There has to be some kind of moral code in society, or else the society cannot function.
There is no more, like the moral code is been destroyed. And, you know, with the drag kid stuff, you know, people say, well, their parents, they can decide what they want their kid to do. But why is it not okay for a parent to give their kid a bottle of Jack and say, well, it's my kid, I can allow him to drink? Well, they say that's harmful to them. It's physically harmful, and you cannot do that. That's a societal standard that we've set.
It's culture and values.
Why are we not allowed to set societal standards when it comes to morality? Right? Like 50 years ago, if you taught the Communist Manifesto in school, you'd probably get fired as a teacher. But now you can teach kids about sexuality. You know, they have these transition closets. Why are we not, like, where is it going? Why is there no structure at all?
There is a rejection of that. There's been a rejection of that. But there is a very deep-seated cult that is trying very, very hard to maintain these things.
Yeah.
The like wokeness in this country is not that prominent, but they are influential because they've seated themselves in our institutions. Mm-hmm. So what's happening now is I hear it in every facet. There's police officers who are like, oh, I don't want to say too much because I'll lose my job. Mm-hmm. There are FBI agents who are like, if I speak out, I'll lose my job. And then what happens? The cult and the establishment get to do whatever they want because the people who know what's going on are too scared to speak up. And it's really frustrating. And that is a major black pill. Now, when you look at least the elections over the past, few months, major white pill. When you take a look at Abercrombie pulling that ad, I'd say it's a white pill.
Yeah.
I'm feeling rather optimistic, but it is really frustrating every day when it's just like people are too scared to actually just say, nah.
Yeah, after 2001 and 9/11, the Patriot Act got signed, and I feel like it bred a generation of psychopaths. No offense if you were raised in this situation, you just don't know that that your lack of understanding about the danger of the Patriot Act is. If you don't realize that the Patriot Act is a complete subversion of everything that the United States Constitution was meant to stand for, then you've fallen for this lack of morality. And then I went through a phase where I was like, well, if we're doing evil around the world, if we're invading and conquering Iraq for weapons of mass destruction that didn't actually exist, then how can I criticize the Chinese government for having people in camps? I don't have a moral authority to do that. So I actually went through a phase where I was like, I can't be a moral arbiter anymore because the United States is doing such evil things. But I realized, like, just because the Patriot Act is evil, I think it's an evil act, doesn't mean that we can't stand up for what's right when we know it's right. Or if we believe it's right, we still have an opportunity, and we have a responsibility to do. If we don't do it, no one will.
Not only should you, but you have to.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.